He's got the internet jamming to his beats.
Initially, I started doing for others, then I started making my own songs, and then I started putting content online.
His content is a mashup of comedy and music.
It was very interesting the way they are speaking, and I just started jamming on my software.
NewsX influencer A-List proudly recognizes Yash Raj Mukherjee for influence in comedy content creation. Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX Influencer A-List. I'm Aarti Krishnan. I have with me Yash Raj, who all of you know as someone who creates a lot of parodies online. All right. Yash Raj, why don't you tell us about the kind of content you create? And let's go back a little bit and talk about the first video that made you viral.
So I've been doing music production from since I think from last 7 years professionally. And before that, I was doing my engineering, and as soon as I finished my engineering, I started doing music production. Initially, I started doing for others, then I started making my own songs, and then I started putting content online. That is how it started. And in the lockdown of 2020, I put out another video um, which was a dialogue mashup of a dialogue that I had seen on TV on the internet, and that kind of became viral. So that video was Rasode Mein Kaun Tha,
Yeah.
and I added beats to that, and yeah, so that was in lockdown 2020.
Right. So let's talk about, I'm sure a lot of our viewers would be, very interested to know how did that thought occur to you to make a mashup of a dialogue and something that's not, something that is from a serial, not something that people would have, something that would have stricken them as comical, but you've managed to make that into something viral. How did that strike you?
It wasn't a very well thought, it like
Mm.
I did not think it that much. It was very instinctive. I just saw that like too much overacting was happening in that one scene, and I thought I should and it was very rhythmic the way they were speaking, the characters were speaking. So it was just my another experiment that I was doing. I had done a few more videos like that before that also, a couple of videos, and I always used to get more number of views on those compared to my original songs or compared to the other covers that I made.
Right.
So I knew people are liking this, and two videos that I put right before that video had done really good, and people had already started sharing those videos. They were all like below 50 seconds only. None of the videos were like, I think, yeah, because I had like Instagram limitations were also there, so you could only put 1 minute videos at that point of time. So I used to make sure that my content is small, and so that people consume it immediately and then share it with their friends. So these little things I didn't mind, but this one particular video, thought that it was very interesting the way they are speaking, and I just started jamming on my software with the dialogue, and it came out really nice. And I put it, and I did not expect that it will explode like this. But yeah, it fit in the algorithm, and people liked it, and even the characters in the video, people had already seen it on TV. So they were already very familiar, and they thought this was something very fresh that I did with that, and it was enjoy. I did not expect that people will find it funny, in the sense. I thought people will find it entertaining because I musically had made it in a way that
Right.
it should sound like a song. So
Right.
if you see at the video also, it is 50 seconds. It's very short, but there's an intro, then there's a verse, then there's a bridge, and there's a proper chorus. So that is how I treated it as a song. But then, yeah, people liked it, and people were laughing, and then they made memes, and then celebrities were commenting on it, and it was great.
Right. Now, like you said, you mentioned, restrictions on Instagram, but I want to talk to you about how you view, since you're somebody who creates music online, how do you see the online platform as opposed to YouTube or something like Instagram with the reels and with a shorter version of, video content creation? Do you find that more, appealing, a way to connect with people easier as a musician?
Yeah, so I'm from that generation. I have been consuming Instagram and YouTube from a very long time, and I have seen the platform evolve from initially when it was only just putting pictures on Instagram.
Right.
They put out started allowing videos.
Right.
So I have seen the growth. Then Snapchat came in, then it came down to 10 seconds. So I had seen it growing as in the limit time limit going down and down and down. So attention span, my attention span is also very low. So it is not about the audience. It is in general, people don't like to watch something they are not interested in for more than 3 seconds or 4 seconds. So it is very necessary that you grab their attention in the first 4 or 5 seconds so that they continue watching it. And even the content is good, they are not going to watch it for more than 1 minute. So according to the platform restrictions, that is how my content also shaped in a way.
Right.
So those were the restrictions that time. And after when TikTok came in, then it again got a little like very low. And then stories and all. So it has always been below 1 minute. And I kind of like that because like if I have to make a 3-minute song, then it requires me to have an intro, then a verse, then a bridge, then a chorus, then a music piece in between, then the second verse, then like it's a long process. So
Right.
long process requires longer time and requires more efforts. And I'm lazy also that way. So I like doing short content where I have to just convey one emotion and one idea quickly and then move forward. So I like this format, and yeah, I think I will do longer format content, but this is quicker and the response time is also nice. If I put it on my platform, within minutes I get to know that if it is working or not working, because people, if it is good enough, people start sharing it immediately.
Right.
So yeah, I like this short format content.
Right. Speaking of, your preferences as well, you've been creating music for quite some time. Like you said, we've seen some of your videos from before you went viral, and even since then, the kind of long format music you've been creating. But do you think this sort of comical parody making is then your USP, and will you be continuing and sticking with that?
I did not know that it was my USP while doing the first few videos. When people started making memes, and then I found that people are laughing at the videos and they are enjoying it as a comedy content piece. Initially my videos were also trending on YouTube in the comedy page. So I found that very interesting because I did not attempt to make people laugh. It was only that I see what I'm doing with the music and how I'm turning this sound into something you won't expect. So when I realized that people are laughing at it, then my next videos, then I started thinking about it in that way. And so for me, it is still, when I work on those videos as a music piece, it works. When I forcefully try to make people laugh, then it doesn't work because it shows in the video also, in the content piece also. So for me, it is still the music part of it, which I find very interesting.
Right. I was coming to that part, where it's a work in progress. And just like anybody who tries out with comic and comedy, sometimes the jokes hit and sometimes they're just a miss. But have you ever felt that the kind of need to then, once one video does really well, you then feel pressured to, in your next video, perform even better? For example, your latest did really well. The Boring Day video did really well, but then, and then that just sort of goes up and down, right? So have you ever felt that stress of when you're creating your videos?
Yeah, absolutely. Right from the first video when it went viral, the immediate stress that I had was that I did not want it to be a one video wonder thing.
Right.
I immediately wanted to put out something which is slightly better than that, or equally good as that video. So yes, from last 2 years I have not slept really well because at night I keep thinking about what will be the content, what will be my next content, because I want to put out good content, but it is not easy to generate good content. It is very hard, and there are many videos that I've made already in my computer, but after making and after listening to them once or twice, I realized that it is not working. But they are decent videos, but I think that they are not as good as the videos which are already out, so I don't put them out. So it happens, and there's a lot of pressure. Initially तो बहुत ज़्यादा pressure था, but then I realized that if I'm just taking too much pressure, I won't be able to make anything. So I just have to like just keep on making and just deal with the stress. And the good content only happens when the mind is completely relaxed and you're not thinking about anything, and suddenly comes something in the mind. So I try to not stress that much now. I've managed to deal with it. So now it is much better than what it was a year ago. So now I've managed.
So, Yashraj, you've managed to get into the mindset where even if there is a jingle that people don't like, a lot of ad jingles that sometimes when we're watching as kids, we may not even like it, but it's stuck in your head. So you've managed to get into that, you've tapped into that sort of mentality where your 30-second or 15-second video is stuck in people's heads. So what is then your future plan in terms of, we did speak about, now you've found this sort of beat that you want to then, work into in the future of your music creation. Let's talk a little bit about what you're then looking for yourself in the future when it comes to content creation, because once you go viral, your life changes. Then how do you then work with that?
So the most important thing that has happened to me is that I have created my own distribution system.
Okay.
So if I have to make something other than this, I have my own distribution system. I don't have to go to a label or to a producer to distribute my songs,
Right.
or any content that I make. For example, if I decide to make a short film tomorrow, I can just make the short film and put it on my YouTube channel. I don't need to have a infrastructure for that.
Absolutely.
So that is the best thing that has happened. That is the first best thing that has happened. Second best thing is that I have got access to people who have been in the industry for so many years. I get to talk to them. I get to take their advice. So that is a huge advantage. That has no substitute. That has nothing can match that.
Right.
So these are two things that have really that are really helping me as a music producer also. So I am a slightly better music producer that I was 2 years ago, definitely, because my efficiency has increased. I've been working more. Initially, before that, I was very lazy. I used to make one video in 2 months and all. But now making more, generating more, that is making me better as a music producer also. So all these nice things have happened, and the next goal is to make a sound of myself. Like, people know me for the short videos. I want to make original songs, and then see if they like those original songs which have nothing to do with any dialogue, which are made only around one emotion, with proper lyrics, with proper I want them to feel something listening to my original songs as well. So that is something I'm working on right now.
Absolutely.
I hope that works. And as I said, distribution is not a problem now, because I can make it and I just put it on my YouTube channel.
Right, Yashraj, thank you for joining us and sharing your journey with us, sharing your future plans, and all the best to you. Hope you keep making more music and making more people laugh.
Thank you, Aarti. Thank you so much.
A stand-up comic, writer and actor.
Your content has to be good. It has to back you. You have to be someone who's exciting and who's sharing new ways of telling something.
Thought-provoking and unapologetic content.
Now there are different voices when it comes to stand-up. It's different girls talking about different situations and different stories.
NewsX influencer A-list proudly recognizes Sumukhi Suresh for influence in comedy content creation.
Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX Influencer A-List. I'm Aarti Krishnan. I have with me a very special guest, Sumukhi Suresh, who all of you must know as a very bubbly stand-up comedian. And today she's going to talk to us about her journey and the industry itself. Hi, Sumukhi. Thank you for joining us today. Firstly, like I said,
Thank you so much for
you're
having
one
me,
of
Aarti.
the originals, I would say, of the comic industry who, where one of the people when stand-up comedy peaked, the popularity peaked in India. Where do you see the industry now, especially for women?
I mean, I think it's still peaking. I think it's very unfair to say that it's already. I think the beginning, the excitement around it has, I think, maybe died down. It's no longer your USP if you're a comic. Now you have to be a good comic. Your content has to be good. It has to back you. You have to be someone who's exciting and who's sharing new ways of telling something. I think those are the parameters that have come in, which is very exciting for us. So what do I think? Where has the stand-up comedy scene, man? It's come together so much. There's so many comics in the out there. A YouTube clip going viral is no longer your biggest credit, because of course stand-up is going to be watched. So now it comes down to how your content is going to be different. In terms of the gender, in terms of the number of women who are in the scene, definitely more. And I think that we have a lot to tell. A lot of thank yous have to go to people like Aditi Mittal, Niti Palta, Radhika Vaz, Anu Menon, Kanis Surka. So right now, I think we have arrived at a stage where now there are different voices when it comes to stand up. Like, it's different girls talking about different situations and different stories, which is very exciting. In terms of what it is, that it's still a struggle for the girls, man, there are logistical issues. Like, we are primarily right now only on the girls who are from metros, so it's easier for you to access an open mic. There are going to be so many girls who I'm sure are way funnier than all of us put together, from smaller cities and smaller towns, who don't have the access right now. So I can't wait for that, for that to come together. There are logistical issues, like just taking permission from your parents to get out in the evening to do an open mic. So a lot of people don't understand that this is still a problem. Girls in Delhi are not able to reach out to open mics, which starts at 8:30. How are they supposed to reach? So I think those are the things we're trying to address, or hopefully will get addressed eventually. That's one. Second is that, I have constantly told this, I think more than peers. See, the thing about comedy is also, it's still well closely knit. It is still a community rather than an industry. And I think I really like that word for us, because regardless, we all have each other's back. Even if it means that I may not be okay with someone's bit or someone's thoughts or whatever it is, regardless, we will have each other's back. So that's a good, we're still in that space. But as audience members, it will be really nice if more people come and watch women in comedy. I think now I'm going to put the ball in the court for the audience. I'm like, you expect us to have the representation? Of course, we have to. Can you also come out and watch more girls do shows? Because it doesn't matter how many of us are doing open mics, unless you're going to pay to come and watch us, it's not going to be seen as success. And if your counter to that is, oh, the jokes have to be funny, you have to come and watch us for that. You have to try us, because the online community is extremely aggressive about female stand-up comedians. Like, the kind of trolling is insane. So it immediately puts you in the back foot that, do I want to watch this girl? She seems like she's getting a lot of trolls. So invest in live shows, come for our shows. The moment it's about money, it becomes more exciting. So yeah.
That's actually a very nice point. And, I'm glad you brought up community. We'll come to that in a second. But another interesting thing I wanted to discuss with you was, now when we talk to other performers, right, when we talk to maybe people who speak in open mics, who recite poetry, who do music, one conversation that comes up is, now that the social media content creation sphere itself has in fact grown and evolved to such an extent that a lot of people may not be, especially also including the factor of COVID, right? A lot of people may not be going for live shows, or you might, as a performer, feel better, access to a wider variety of audience when you're just putting out your content online. So how do you see that? Having performed live, having put out content online as well, where do you see that? What is sort of your preference, and what would you say are the pros and cons of either?
There are two ways to look at this. I think social media and the wider network that we reach out to is definitely good for us, because it converts into people buying tickets and coming, our visibility. But you can't replace the thought of live shows. You just can't. The COVID took something really interesting away for us, because we were performing live shows. And the thing about stand-up is that it is very it's an absolute high to be in front of an audience and performing for them, and that particular validation is very important. Or at an open mic where you immediately know when you've bombed or when you've this. And also
Right.
the thought of live shows is that it's very it's not that easy. It is extremely, audience always knows what to laugh at and what not. So it is a giant reminder that don't get comfortable, don't get you haven't, when you said no that we've peaked, the reason why we can never feel like we've peaked is because we bomb very regularly when audience is just not laughing, and regardless. So the live shows cannot replace social media at all, just like social media cannot replace live shows. I think works both ways. Of course, I think comics have adapted to the situation, done Zoom shows, tried as much, but man, we cannot wait to get back on stage, because it's not about the virality and the validation. It's the skill of being a stand-up comedian who's doing live shows. I think that's the bigger, fruit for us than the popularity involved.
That's a very interesting take on it. Now, coming to the community, like you said, there are a lot of new comics that are coming into the entire sphere, right? From down south, northeast, India's stand-up scene is growing. Now, for you guys who have been in the industry for quite a bit, and you have gathered some experience, how do you keep your material up to date, or do you then feel competitive in some sense? Although you, I'm sure, since the network is so tightly knit, you must also be mentoring so many of the new comics who come. But then, how does that make you feel in terms of bettering your content, or trying to learn and not be too repetitive, for instance?
The two questions, I mean, about the new comics coming in, always good, because it means that if there are more people coming in, there are more people who are going to come and watch. So you may not be excited to hear a Sumukhi, because you'll be like, I don't find her very exciting. I find her jarring. She's very loud. She's very shrill. But there is a community that loves. There's an audience member who are like, no, we love Sumukhi. So there's an audience pocket for everybody, which is great. So new comics is always good, because now it's no longer a USP to be a comic. Now you have to be a good comic who writes well or performs well. So of course, inherently, we will up our game. Inherently we'll write better. We'll think better. We'll perform better, we'll make it more exciting for the audience. In terms of competition, I mean, there is, yeah, of course, but not with the newer comics, actually, because I'm still competing with my peers only. Like, I'm not going to compete with the new comic because they're having fun. This is a great space right now. They're in a bubble. This bubble is lovely. So it's very weird if I just break that bubble, be like, I'm going to compete with you. It's going to be it's not going to work out. Third, mentoring. I think mentoring is too strong a word for comics, because comic can't be mentored. Comics can be guided. Comics can be given feedback once in a while, especially the girls I meet. I mean, for example, one of my longest collaboration is with comic Sumaira Sheikh. I just directed her stand-up special, Dongri Danger, which is going on Amazon Prime. And man, what a phenomenal comic. And more than competing with her, I'm so envious of her observations and her punchlines in a very, very positive way. Like, envy is given, the word is given so much negativity, but I'm absolutely excited when she's delivering a show or a joke. But I'm like, tu ruk, main bhi better joke deti hu. So it's a that space rather than the I'm going to bring you down. So right now the community is still in that space, and I hope we are there for a while. It's also because stand-up as a concept or as a skill is very personal. So you are putting a piece of yourself out there. So you are making yourself vulnerable. So you're already vulnerable on stage. Then you get off stage and you're going to compete and try to bring someone down. That's too much. No one's going to take that effort. They're like, ye bhi karo, fir ye bhi karo, nahi hoga.
Right. Now, there is no denying that you do have some amount of experience and understanding of the industry. More like, tell us a little bit about Motormouse, what you do, and how then you're integrating your experience into this initiative.
As a comic, of course, I'm a stand-up comic. Something I've realized very early on is that that's not the only skill that can take you ahead. This is something you see in international comics also, is that now you see their specials and now you see like, wow, they're so good. But they've been doing this for a while. They've been doing this for 20 years, 2 decades, where they did stand-up, they did improv, they did sketches, they wrote for fiction shows, they wrote for their own shows, which gives them a spectrum of skills to put together a 1-hour special and give it to you. And you're like, wow, what a mind. It's taken a lot of smaller, pockets of development of a skill. For me, that's how it started. Like, I did improv, I did sketches, I'm doing stand-up. I wrote a fiction show, which is Pushpavalli. I wrote, I was acting in a show which was not written by me, Better Life Foundation, and now Biswa's new show for Amazon Mini. These things have made me realize one thing, that the stand-up comedy is one angle. The other thing that I think I want to invest my time and money in and set a legacy or leave a legacy behind is the concept of writing shows and movies. Motormouth is an end-to-end writers company that writes shows, movies, creates its own shows and movies with interesting female characters and interesting female leads that will push you to watch it. If you like it, great. If you hate it, that's also great. So the agenda for Motormouth right now is to make writing cool. And personally, for me to go back to where it started, I wanted to be the lead of my own show. Nobody was casting me. I wrote a show of my own along with some fabulously talented writers like Naveen Richard and Sumaira Sheikh. So writing as a community and writing as a thought needs to be made cool. It's something that can be invested on. And I think that's what Motormouth is trying to do.
Right. On that note, do you think that, stand-up comics who, when they write their own jokes, for example, or when they come out with specials, do you think that sometimes it's not taken with, in the sense of that it's not understood how much effort goes behind that? I'm sure you can say that for any sort of creation, right? Even if it's a YouTube video that you're posting, I'm sure there's a lot of effort that goes behind it. But do you think there is enough appreciation for the amount of writing that goes behind a stand-up comic? You don't wake up and then you think of a joke. Sometimes I'm sure that happens. Overnight, you're like, this joke is amazing. And it works. But sometimes it doesn't. And there's a lot of intricate writing that's there behind it. Do you think that's sort of understood by the audience? Or is that sort of a fourth wall that you're not willing to break?
It's a 50-50, like comics like Kanan, everybody knows he's a great writer. Mm-hmm. Like even all his fans are like, oh, Kanan's a fabulous writer. So there is something he's done right, which is why. But you see comics like maybe me, maybe Kenny, I don't know, and maybe Naveen, I don't know. I think it's best for me to speak for myself. Since I'm more performative and more animated, they feel like everything is coming on the spot and there's no writing involved, which is not the truth. I love performing, but I also try and write as much as I can of what I have written. Yes, sometimes the more animated and the more performative ones don't get the credit for writing because they're like, ye to drama kar rahi hai na. I'm like, drama mein bhi kafi chalta hai. But one thing which is not appreciated majorly is writing of fiction shows. The writers are not given a lot of credit. A lot of credit goes to the actors. As someone who has been the actor herself, thankfully I was also the writer, so I got the credit for that. But a lot of producers take credit, a lot of directors take credit. Adding a line to a show doesn't make you a writer because the writer has given you the foundation for it. So I don't think writers in fiction shows or in movies get as much credit as they need, or maybe I haven't seen it unless you really hit, like unless you're a Salim Javed or unless you're a Juhi Chaturvedi who have now enough gravitas to get that kind of, or there's Crazy Mohan. Crazy Mohan is a legend. Everybody knows him. Yeah. So maybe you have to put in the time, and maybe that's what we need to learn as writers. Put in your time and then people will eventually see. So yeah.
All right, Sumukhi, it was a fantastic conversation with you. Very enlightening, very insightful. Thank you for joining us and sharing your journey, sharing so many interesting insights with us. Kudos to you and all the best.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.